Welcome back. Welcome back. We are just gathering today to catch up a little bit, do some humble pie highlights. And
Oh
we've got
my
some good ones for
gosh.
you. Hi, Audie. You want to start
Hi,
us off with some
Regan.
humble pie?
I would love to start with humble pie. I am almost 9 weeks postpartum, and I've hit a hormonal fluctuation point. My humble pie today is that it not only has happened right now, but it's all happened at once. So I'm having every gastrointestinal issue possible. Um, I've been nauseous all morning. Bloated, like my hands and fingers are swollen a little bit. My muscles are exhausted. Like we're rolling down the line of things that are wrong with me. And so yeah, that's my humble pie is really sitting in it. I've been talking for the last like 9 weeks about how good things have been and how I've recovered really well. And I've like praise God, that's been so good. And all of a sudden, about like maybe 3 or 4 days ago, I just started waking up feeling like I've been run over, like run over.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so that's my humble pie is I'm being told to sit down and shut up and enjoy this
No.
part of the postpartum season.
Yeah, that part, yes, for sure. I'm like, no, nobody's telling you. Oh, yeah, okay, yes, you do need.
Yeah, my body is. My body is like, hey,
Yes,
you're done.
cool it, cool it.
Uh,
I wasn't planning on saying this, but this humble pie highlight part, we started it because we wanted to normalize failure because we fail forward fast and that's how you grow. And every person that we look up to, every amazing holy individual, every amazing business individual, mother, I mean, anybody that we hold up, they have failed more than the average person. That's how they became so amazing. They failed and
yeah.
failed and failed. So, right now, I think that in a different time in life, if you would have told me what you just said with your humble pie highlight, I would have been like silently judging you and being kind of in my head going, yeah, it's because you overdid it. Or yeah, it's because you blah, 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 blah. Or this is somehow your fault, Audie, that you're experiencing anything except perfection. And I wouldn't like consciously be doing that, but I would subconsciously be doing that, just kind of blaming you. And then that's what I did myself for so many years too. Just if there's anything out of place, if there's any imperfection, if life throws me any lemons, it's somehow my fault. And so now not only are we dealing with a problem, but we're dealing with this self-loathing and the shame and
Hmm.
the guilt because it's our fault. So just as I heard you say that, I just wanted to be like, you know what? It's not your fault.
Yeah. It doesn't
That's
feel
all.
like my
It's not your
fault.
fault.
And that's one of the things, because like I totally would have judged myself. Like that's something I wouldn't have even shared with you. Like I would have hidden it. Because I would have been like, this is my fault somehow. And I was like, I don't think I've overdone it. And I've just been going the way like my body has been flowing, and then all of a sudden, boom, we've got all this happening very quickly, very suddenly. And so I have the skills now to like pivot and reel back in, which has been really great because it was a shock. Because it was a shock because again,
Mm-hmm.
8 weeks of like doing good, like I'm thinking I'm like I'm out of the woods. Like I'm about to enter like another good stage. No, we're having hormone shifts and that's fine. But I was ready. I was prepared. I knew it was a possibility. I knew things might change and be shaken up, and so I appreciate that. Because I appreciate you not judging me. Um, because I'm not judging me either.
That's so huge, though. I'm not judging you either. Okay, so yours is physical symptoms that you're allowing to and not judging yourself for. I have some emotional humble pie this week.
Yeah.
My Aunt Debbie came to stay. It's my husband's aunt. I've probably talked about her in here before. She came to stay. She actually kind of reached out whenever I was pregnant and offered to come and stay whenever I had the baby, which is just huge for me because I was having, that part in pregnancy where you get just so, um, like longing for female support and you just
Mhm.
start longing for that motherly affection and I was just longing for that, just hurting for it. And she reached out and offered this and my first inclination was no because you're going to come in my house and you're going to be up in my space and you're going to see my flaws and I'm going to do all that while pregnant. I'm extra flawed right now. Please no. But because I had been praying about it, because I had some clarity of the question that was posed to me in prayer was, Regan, will you accept who I send you? And then she reaches out and offers. So we let her in. I totally let her into my heart and home. She's been coming consistently, like every month or two for a year. And we've gotten so close that this week she stayed a whole week and it was just like such a nurturing individual that when she left, I was so low.
Mhm.
Like she left on Monday and I just like was in the dumps.
Yeah.
And I think I would have self-judged that too. Have been like, look, this is a problem. This is a problem that you feel pain. But it's not a problem. It just hurts.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay. It's actually a really beautiful thing that we're so close that it hurts when she leaves.
I was gonna say it is so beautiful and such a gift that it feels like a little piece of you is sad and taken with her.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, Reagan, that's so good. That is so that is so sweet, and it's hopeful too because I went through the same thing and I haven't necessarily found that little piece for me, and so that's just very hopeful that um maybe I will, and it can
Mm-hmm.
come from anywhere and it could be a surprise. And and I love Debbie too, by the way. I'm like, Debbie, if you're listening, you are listening.
She
We
is
love
listening.
you.
We do. Oh, and she's imperfect. That's the part for me that was like really hit me in prayer. If you're hunting for a good friend or a motherly role or a sisterly role, like if you're hunting for that and you have this ideal in your mind,
Hmm.
will you accept someone who is just a human and not your ideal?
Yeah.
We could go
Mm,
into that another day because that's a whole story and it was so good and God is so good. But
yeah.
that's our humble pie.
Yeah. It's a good humble pie. I really like it.
So let's dive in a little bit. What's been going on in your week? What's happening
Yeah.
in your world?
I we had a bomb dropped on us actually, and like it's been a little stressful. It's been a little stressful. We've had this babysitter that comes to help, and she's been anywhere between like 5 hours a week to like 20 hours a week over the last like year and a half. She's been helping with me with Lily so I can have time to do work and like catch up on sleep while I've been pregnant. Like she was a lifeline in the third trimester and the very beginning postpartum because I needed it and my husband wasn't able to be home. And praise God we were able to, excuse me, praise God we were able to afford that. And that's been such a blessing. And she dropped a bomb on us, that she needed a 30% raise. I know,
Oh,
a 30% raise. And I was like, oh, and I thought it had been like transparent as far as like where we were. Like we'd given her a couple of raises too. And she was like, I need this or I have to find another job. And I was just like, wow, okay. Um, so Eric and I like sat down, we checked our finances, and we were like, we just can't give her 30% more. And like if maybe she were able to like take care of literally everything, then like okay, maybe we could justify it. But it's the same thing as me taking care of Lily and trying to clean the house. Like, you know how it is to be a mom and have like multiple kids now, especially. And so, even if we split the duties, we're still walking on top of each other. We're not using the same brain. And so, just it wouldn't make any sense. And so, we both had like a moment of like, what are we going to do without her? Like genuinely, like, what are we going to do without her? How, like, are we going to be able to find somebody else that we trust? Because that's something that I don't think we talk about enough. Like daycares are crazy, like schools are crazy, like all these things are crazy. Like people that you bring into your home could be crazy. And so the vetting process and everything, we were just like, we don't have time or energy for it. And
mm-hmm.
so
We're
we
in
let
that
that
right
sit.
now. It's hard.
Yeah, it is so hard. It is so hard, but and it's necessary in some seasons. And we were thinking we were still in that season. So my husband and I were like, we'll talk about it more tomorrow. We go to bed, we wake up, and I wake up in this having this crazy thought of like, well, what if we what if we didn't do that? What if it was just me? And I literally, I kicked that thought out of my head so fast. I was like, I'm not thinking about that right now. That is crazy. I'm not doing that. Um, and so we sat there in fear and we just like enjoyed being there in fear. We were afraid. Um, and I say enjoyed it because it was comfortable in the sense of we had had this plan, we'd had this standard, we'd had this idea for our family, and it's hard and not often the first thing we want to think of when there's a shift to maybe we need to change our family standards, right? So we were sitting in the fear
Hmm.
of like, well, we'll just try to force whatever was working to work again. Um, anyway, as the day goes by, she comes back, she and I have like a conversation. I'm understanding more about where she's at. And so I'm like, I'm starting to get it. And I had that thought come up again. And it was like, hey, like what if it was just you at home? And this time, baby was asleep. Babysitter was with my oldest, and I was like, I have some time to like dream about this. So I did. I sat here and I like planned out like, okay, what would it look like if we had no babysitter and it was just me? And by the end of the day, I had a full itinerary of how I was going to be home alone with no babysitter. I was like, we're gonna ask on Tuesday for help from either my husband or his mom. And I like had planned like everything out here. And that evening, I like brought it up to him, and because he was like, he wanted to talk about it again, obviously, because it's a giant life shift. And
Hmm.
he was like, that's insane. I was like, you are a few weeks postpartum. That's the craziest thing I've ever heard. And and I laugh about it because it is. And like I've been telling you guys, like we've been in a really good groove, and all of a sudden, this is the very first shift that I've had that's been negative, but it's hormonal, it's temporary, and I know I'm going to get through that. But we brought it up, we thought about it over a couple of days, and we're like, this is what's going to serve our family best. And Reagan, it was so interesting because I went from being dependent on this woman to come help me take care of my kids, being dependent on
Hmm.
this woman to help me like with the dishes and blah 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 so I could get work done so then I could have time for myself, and I completely scratched that entire plan, rebuilt it to where I was going to be able to take care of each of those things, still have time for myself and still have time for work. Like I have work hours still and still have time for all of that. Um and I painted the bathroom. Like I even painted the bathroom last week. I like we've totally revamped. She has like maybe 2 weeks left. I think she gave us plenty of time, plenty of notice, which like praise God for. Um, but we have a couple of weeks left, and I'm thrilled, Reagan. Like I am thrilled to jump into it. Um, even though it terrified me initially. You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure. I want to ask you a few questions about it to kind of get some clarity because I went
Mm-hmm.
through this exact same thing when I first went through the women's school with my first coach and did master class and
Yeah.
learned how to basically that thing that you said where you sat down, you dreamed about it and you kind of mapped it out, designed what life could look like.
Mm-hmm.
I had never been given those skills.
Yeah.
So when I first learned that, it was like my productivity like tripled and my stress level dropped and I didn't know
Yeah.
how to marry those. When I was sharing that with people like you just shared, people got mad at me. I got like
Yeah.
torn apart on the internet because they believed that the only way that my productivity would increase is by being like a psycho, just like pushing all the time and having these crazy high standards and be
Mm.
like, I am this like hardcore type A. I'm not a type A. I am a very, ask my family, I'm a very, very type B person. Just
Mm-hmm.
go look at my bed right now. It's unmade and there's clothes all over it. Um, it's just the productivity increased and the stress decreased. And
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of what you're describing here. And I think some of our listeners are probably going, well, yeah, but she's like straining herself. She's pushing
Mm-hmm.
too hard. She's doing something because there's no way to do that without having a collapse, crashing and
Yeah.
burning. What
Mm.
do you think?
Yeah, no, I compare my first baby to the second baby. And my first baby, I can use laundry as an example. Just because I'm sitting and looking at my couch right now, I've got 5 baskets of laundry on my couch. And with my first baby, I wasn't even working, but you're trying to wrap your head around a life change, and you're trying to like continue with the standards that you had before you had a baby, or standards you had while you were pregnant. And so something that I learned and that was pivotal for me was that I'm in charge of my standards. I get to pick what I want to do, why I want to do it, how I want to do it. Um, and so having the 5 baskets of laundry on the couch right now doesn't bother me at all, because I know I'm gonna get to that either later today, tomorrow. My husband might help with it. Who knows? I don't even have a plan for it. At some point, it's gonna get done, and it's not gonna get pushed off for months, because that's just
Mm-hmm.
something that's a standard within our family. It's like, okay, great, check box. We finished lunch. I'm gonna go take care of the laundry, whatever it is. But before, it was, if I don't get to this, I'm an awful person. If I don't get to
Mm-hmm.
this, then that means that I am not worthy enough for X, Y, or Z. Like another thing is, I was always afraid that my husband would come home and see like dishes in the sink, or the laundry undone, or something like that, and he would be mad at me for it. Like it would be my fault, and I wouldn't have done enough, if that makes any sense. Um,
Yeah.
and something I've been able to ask myself now is like, is my husband really upset that I didn't get the laundry done? Or is he upset that I'm upset that I didn't get the laundry done? Because your husband comes home, and sometimes there's like this odd feeling, like this odd aura, I guess you could say, in the house. Like the vibe is off.
Mm-hmm.
And it's what I discovered in my case was because I was so hard on myself, I projected that onto him, and I was like, you must be hard on me too. Like everybody in the
Mm-hmm.
world must be hard on me because I must not be doing it right. And so now being able to like swap things around with the second kid, Reagan, I'm like, I don't think at all I'm pushing too hard. I am leaning fully
Mm-hmm.
into like the desires I feel like God is giving me. I feel like he called me to clean. I cleaned the carpets. I shampooed them, and I feel like he called me to do that. Feeling that was something that I needed to have done. I really wanted to paint the bathroom because it made me happy. And I painted the bathroom. I had a grand old time doing it, Reagan. I wish you guys could have
I
been here. I
know. I
had
saw your
so
pictures
much
on
fun.
Instagram.
It's
They're
so
so
much
it's so
fun.
cute.
Um, and so, yeah, I really think that it goes back to our expectations, and like why are we holding that expectation for ourselves, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. I hear you saying too that your yes is yes and your no is no, and
Mm-hmm.
you're saying yes to the laundry when it's what's best for you and your family. And so it comes from conviction
Mm,
versus fear of being lazy or perceived as
yeah,
lazy or wrong or not successful, not a good enough mom or not, but so
yeah,
your yes is flowing from conviction, not fear.
that's very true. My yes is it's so crazy. Like you said, after we did this work, like with the women's school, and we've gone through the master class and stuff, we are able to like know and identify, like we have clarity about what really matters, and
Mm-hmm.
we are able to pivot and change those things as that changes, because that's never the same. Like if I had the same standards from when I was like a teenager to now, um those are obviously very different standards. I'm not obsessed over boys and makeup anymore. Like I'm obsessed with my family and like creating this home life. um so I
Mm-hmm.
don't know, have you experienced anything like that recently?
Um, the one that comes to my mind is really the original, the first time, and we redesign our life like every season. Right now, we're redesigning everything for summer.
Mm-hmm.
But when I first learned how to do it, I was in that state where, again, because I'm more of a type B personality, some people might see me and know me and come to my house, and I'm thinking of my friends that come over, and they're probably like, "No, she's very organized. She really has it together. Like her house is clean. The dinner's made when we come over. Like, but I struggle with that kind of stuff. So for me it's very like all or nothing. I'm either a
Mm-hmm.
slave to my to-do list and my calendar, or I finally finish it all and I get to crash in bed and like hide for a day or two. And so I was finding myself in this pattern of super Regan and then exhausted dark room Regan that has
Mm,
her laptop open with Netflix on. Like, and
yeah.
these are my two realities for so long. And I actually saw that modeled for me growing up. And so I realized that whenever I got sick and I started having to go, I need to shift some of these patterns that I'm in. How can I
Yeah.
do that? And to shift that pattern out of that feeling of like something you could always hear me saying back then was like, I get to rest. I just have to get through this weekend and then we can rest. I
Mm,
just have to get through this week and then we can, I just have to get through May and then it's going to slow down. And I was saying
yeah.
that monthly about some aspect of my life. And I knew that pattern had to shift, but I didn't know how to do it because I was either the go, 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 get all your to do list
Mm-hmm.
girl done, or I was flailing.
Yeah.
So what shifted that was really learning how to, again, I hate to say the word design your life, but that's what we do. That's why I do it in coaching so much for my clients, because I always use the word alignment. Um, Talking to God, working with a coach that helps ask you questions to get you to hear him
Mm,
and hear his direction for your life and getting clarity around what he's calling you to do in this season.
yeah.
And then going after that, one, that gives me more energy. It clarifies, like you mentioned the laundry, and I'm mentioning my bed right now. My bed is messy, and some people, like some coaches would say, well, you need to fix that. Like that's not disciplined. And a lot
Mm-hmm.
of women, a lot of Christian women would say, well, you need to increase your discipline. But the truth is that I'm so in tune with where God is leading me right now, and he is calling me to do certain specific things. One of them was to have a baby. So we're living in
Yeah.
this life of when I was praying, going, business or baby, God, and he's like, both, babe, both. I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
show you how to do it. I'm gonna show you that you got to do it my way. It can't be
Yeah.
perfectionism. It can't be fake discipline. So for me, the messy bed means that I had outdoor time with my family this morning while the baby
Mm,
slept in. I got to quickly change clothes for the podcast while my husband takes the kids to school and takes the baby with him. Like we are in a beautiful, peaceful flow
mm-hmm.
because we didn't worry about the bed
Yeah.
and because we let a lot of different things go. Like right now, there are dishes in the sink. They're going to be there until about lunchtime when we come in and clean up and make lunch.
Yeah.
And you start to basically, I started to base all of my to do list on where God was leading me instead of these old
Yeah.
expectations, like you mentioned.
Absolutely. I hear a lot in everything you're saying, and also in what I'm saying too. There is a difference between, oh my gosh, I have to get all of this done and then I'll rest. And the idea of mine was kind of like a self-loathing situation where it's just like, I'm the worst wife, I'm the worst mom, like catastrophizing and like fully saying, like, I can't do this right. But instead, I think what healed both of those things are the fact that we are so, like you said, in tune with God's design for our lives. But part of that is not just that alignment, but it's also trusting ourselves and like trusting
Mm-hmm.
that we're receiving that correct information. We're receiving the information from Him. And so we're able to make those decisions on a day to day. We don't have to take like 3 to 5 business days to like pray about it or think about it. We don't have to go ask our husband or a friend or whatever. We're able to just like, boom, make these decisions. It's done. And I think that for me, that was a huge wound. Like, and that's something I feel like I still continue to heal on. Like, I find like little pieces on where my self-trust isn't as high. But I really think that like that's really what I'm hearing is like just a ton of self-trust on both of our stories here.
It's hard to relate to your clients sometimes because you have to go back into where you were.
Yeah.
Because this is like, for instance, when we were preparing to have this conversation, we both had to really go back into our story to remember, why were we stressed about the laundry or the bed?
Yeah.
Because we don't have that anymore. We look at it and go, cool. And we feel total peace. And when you feel peace instead of stress, you have more energy too. Your energy lasts
Yeah.
longer throughout the day. You're not crashing at the end of the week. You have this capacity to show up for your kids and your family like never before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All these things are happening because you lowered the internal stress and the internal judgment. And I don't even remember. Like we have to, you know what I mean? Like today,
Yeah.
it doesn't even feel weird. It just feels like everybody does this. Nobody judges
Yeah.
themselves when they look at the bed or the laundry or the dishes,
Yeah.
but they
Yeah.
do.
They do. They absolutely do. I was telling you beforehand, I had had a couple of clients reach out to me this week, and like we were very much in like catastrophizing mode. And I was like working through with one of them. The other one didn't feel like she was ready to reach out and go through that. And I'm like, that's totally fine. But at the same time, I'm like processing both of these situations. And like, did I catastrophize like that? Like, was that such a bit? And like, it was nice to be able to have a refresher and come and have a conversation with you. And you were like, oh, yeah, you were. You catastrophized every little thing. And that's so helpful to be able to like bring us back into that space because as coaches, like you said, like, the goal is like to continue to elevate, but we have to move back and forth and up and down. It's like it's a flow. Like it is a flow to be able to connect and understand. And that's how we continue to grow. Um,
Mhm.
we can't just think from one plane, like these set of standards, really going back to what we've been talking about. We have to think from the whole picture, like the full thing. And sometimes we become small minded and it's just like, nope, I can only see this and the world I'm living in. But
Mhm.
there's so much more to it.
Well, and that's why we start with our humble pie because
Absolutely.
we build these skills and it does make life easier. It's kind of like coaching is. I'm trying to think of an analogy here. Coaching is like oh, I thought of a couple, but one is just I'm thinking of a car. Like coaching is getting the right set of tires on, getting the right kind of gas
Hmm.
in, getting everything set well, and then you're still going to hit some bumps on the road.
Yeah.
You're still going to hit a pothole, and that's not going to be because you weren't skilled and prepared. But
Yeah.
your overall trip is going to be so much better because you got the oil change and you took care of all those bells and whistles are all functioning
Yeah.
properly.
Absolutely. That wow, that reminds me of a couple of things. Specifically like with clients and like I know a couple of other coaches that like we had these big dreams and these big ambitions, and they're driving down the highway. And for some of us, it looks like a pothole here, pothole, pothole, just like a road full of potholes. And for some people, the road ends and they have to like get out and build that road so they can keep going. And
My
like sometimes it
gosh.
feels like a massive, like we've just hit a giant brick wall or nothing is getting better or we just can't seem to move forward. And a lot of times we got to get out of the car and we got to lay the pavement. We got to lay the
Hmm.
pavement to move forward.
Yeah, and I think where I was a few years ago, that just sounds insane. I would
Yeah.
just be like, sorry, Audie, I am still letting life drag me around. I'm
Hmm.
jumping in someone else's car and it's not God's.
Yeah.
And I'm getting like pushed to and fro. And
Hmm.
honestly, that's a big part of my story. And I wasn't sure if I was going to share that, but since we're here, I'm going to go ahead and just like interject that part.
Shoot.
Um, so for me, I have a history of illness. And so doing all of this work and finding my counselor and working with a coach all came from a place of, I want to heal body, mind, and soul. And I don't believe that my body can heal. I felt this gut feeling. My
Hmm.
body cannot heal unless I do the interior work too. I have to do the mind body work. I
Hmm.
can't just ignore the stressed out cortisol pumping feelings that I have all the
Yeah.
time when it comes to my house or my to-do list or my relationships. And it's my relationships that's really coming to my mind right now. When I didn't know how to design my life, I basically let my children or my husband or my job dictate my whole calendar.
Yeah.
And then I was feeling stressed all the time, like all the time. And yeah, I mean, I've worked with clients like that too, where they're like, "Well, I'm just really overwhelmed because each of my kids have three sports." I'm like, "Who put them in three sports? Who put them there? Is that what God aligned you to, or did you just like fly by the seat of your pants and enroll your kids in three sports each? And now you're dying. You're literally telling me that you're
Hmm.
sick." And that's where I was. But it wasn't my kids' sports. It was my family members who were a bit controlling of my life.
Hmm.
So they wanted veto power in anything that I did. they basically, I started to design my life, and I realized that I had a certain family member that thought that she owned it.
Mm-hmm.
So as I'm aligning with God, this family member is pushing back, going, I get more time here. I get to dictate your schedule. I am in control of your calendar. You don't get to
Mm-hmm.
prioritize what God's asked you to prioritize. You need to prioritize me. And I
Yeah.
never noticed it until I designed my life. So I'm curious, like, what things would fall would what would God reveal to you if you started to really align your life with him and design it that way, and then communicate that out to your family and friends? Which family members would throw a fit and which would celebrate you that you're finally doing this?
Yeah. No, I that's so true. That is so true. My husband and I were just talking about like we're already those family members that are like we don't stay up late really anymore and our priorities are very different. Our priorities are very different than they were when we got married. Um which was 4 years ago last week, by the way. Um
Yes, happy
and
anniversary.
why thank you. But yeah, I think that it's so interesting because once you're able to identify your true desires and you're able to have this idea, this visual sense of capacity, for us, it was something that just like it's like shifted and now we can't go back, if that makes sense. Um, where, yeah, you're the family member that you're speaking of and that entire situation. I had a similar situation, and that was more of like my relationship with my mom. That's where that lived for me. And so breaking off and making that separation, I had to build that self-trust because I didn't believe that I was capable of making those decisions, that the things that I wanted were wrong or they couldn't be aligned with God because I didn't have that direct connection, which is a complete lie. So once we learned how to identify our true desires and to literally know what level of capacity, like I said, letting the laundry sit on the couch would have killed
Mm-hmm.
me a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely killed me. I would have been awful. Um, that's really what stuck with me. Like those are the things that were able to propel me and get me to move from one place to another. And it's truly because we have our gifts, our desires. It's not just something like we pull out of thin air. Like they're not inherently evil. And I feel like sometimes as Christians, like we're like taught that like all of our desires, like none of them are from God. Like that's not where they come from. But actually,
A lot
actually,
of
a
them
lot of them do.
do.
But
Yes,
yeah.
I love that. And I just want to like mention that I love that you threw that out there, because some people who haven't worked with a coach yet, specifically a coach that's aligned with Christ, we have tools and exercises and questions that we can do to help you discern
Hmm.
which of these desires are from God and which aren't.
Yeah.
Which doors is he asking you to open, and which is he like, hey, enough. Let's close that. And every time I bring my desires to him, it's a gift. I'm bringing the gifts up, and he
Hmm.
transforms them and gives them
Yeah.
back to me in his way. And sometimes that's a
Yeah.
closed door, and sometimes that is it's really, usually it's a difference. I bring him like, what about this? And he says, yes, but my way, and my way looks like this. And then I
Hmm.
move forward with clarity. And then those family members
Yeah.
go, no, don't do that. And it's like, actually, this is me saying yes to the Lord, even if I
Hmm.
have to say no to you.
Yeah. That's good. Absolutely. Um, my question is what does our outcome look like from that? Like genuinely, like me thinking of myself 4 years ago with the laundry and thinking of myself now, like, yeah, that's great that I can sit here and like have it there and I'm not freaking out over it. But like what is our like laundry is so small, you know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
where else does that live in your life, Reagan? Like where is that bigger?
Well, I think we've kind of gone through those in different ways. Is the interior piece, that of
Hmm.
not feeling that stress, looking, we use the laundry as an example, but if we can ask our listeners, what in your life that brings you internal stress, what makes you feel guilty or angry or frustrated. For a lot of my clients, it's people asking them to do something or asking to spend time together or asking. It's relationship built because we have this stress of I am so worried that I'm going to respond poorly because
Mm,
I don't understand my own capacity. Like I see that
yeah.
I'm out of capacity. I don't want to overextend myself, but I have to because I don't know how not to.
Yeah.
So transforming that, knowing your capacity, knowing your calling, and not feeling unsafe and not feeling like unstable around people
Mm-hmm.
when they ask you for stuff. Um, that just lowers, I mean, it just lowers your stress and increases your energy and productivity. And isn't that kind of amazing? It's
Yeah.
kind of what we
No,
all want.
I'm so with you. And I think the things for me that changed the most, like, um, it's something that I've like not just thrived in this laundry situation, but with everything is like I'm not second guessing my yeses or my nos
Mm-hmm.
anymore. Like I'm able to say no to something that like I might kind of have an inkling to do, or like maybe there's a little bit of an obligation where I'm feeling like, oh, maybe I do need to do this. But when I say no, like no means no, I'm done. Or when I say yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes means yes. I'm going to commit to this and I'm going to do it. There's no second guessing, and I feel so strong and so confident in that because I know like what matters. And like for instance, like um like with work, like on a month to month basis, I have a standard and an ideal for what each month looks like. Like I have a certain focus for April, I have a certain focus for May. Like I have there's like client outreach and like I launched a group this last month and each month has a focus and a purpose. And if we're able to do that in work, I also have to be able to do that at home. So it translates because it's not just where you can just pick this up and then put this down and then come home and be a disaster. Like no, like they're both go together completely. They're married to each other.
Yes, I see that so often with my clients because so many of them are really good um, outside of the home. They're really good
Hmm.
in their careers or at church or with friends. Like they're just they
Yeah.
show up very well. And, but then that doesn't translate to when you ask their children or their adult children, like,
Yeah.
how's your mom? They're like, stressed, overwhelmed,
Yeah.
doesn't have capacity for my emotions, don't really
Hmm.
like her, we argue a lot, or
Yeah.
she's demanding, like fake. I hear that one a lot too, that she's fake.
Mm,
So I think, I don't know, let's maybe end it with a question to ask each of our clients to kind of get them thinking about, is this a
yeah.
step they need to take? Because I think that life design is not a luxury. It's not oh, I
Yeah.
have extra money for a life coach like in the 90s. Life design in this world in 2025 is a like non-negotiable necessity
I agree.
because we have so much information and so many things to do. Without designing it, we are going to crash and burn. We're going to have
Hmm.
illness. We're going to have stress, and we're not going to have the beautiful relationships we want.
Yeah. Wow, that's
So
so true.
what's a question we can ask to kind of help our listeners really like kind of go, where am I in this process?
Yeah, that's a really great thing. I think that for me it's really in standards or expectations. And so it's kind of like what standards or what expectations are you holding yourself to that aren't serving you anymore?
Hmm. What expectations are you holding yourself to that is not serving you or are not serving you anymore?
Yeah.
That's
Like for
good.
me with the whole laundry thing, it doesn't have to be done all the time. And that was a silly expectation for me to try to continue at this season in life. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so I'm letting it go. I'm changing it. Um, and there ain't nothing wrong with changing it. With full
Ain't
permission
nothing
to change
wrong.
it.
But honestly, you needed that permission when we first started coaching, and now you don't need that permission.
Yeah,
And that's what I
absolutely.
love. That's part of this whole journey too. Well, I think that question is a great one for my clients too.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe also something like notice where you're feeling. And I think I said this last week too, because it's always goes back to like noticing where you're feeling like like crashing and burning.
Mm-hmm.
Where are you like hitting a wall with frustration or exhaustion?
Yeah.
And when you hit that wall, like be thinking like, oh, this there could be something better than this.
Yeah.
There is another way to do life where I'm not this exhausted. And it's not just by removing things from my calendar. There is a
Yeah.
different way to live.
hmm That's
And
so
it,
good.
yeah,
There's a different way of doing this. That's so good, Regan.
awesome.
Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of the Weekly Fellowship Podcast. If you'd like to work with Regan, you can learn more about her on her website at reganclementcoaching.com.
And if you'd like to work with Audye, you can find her at audyegonzalez.com.